I asked my family for a meeting to break the news about my illness and that I might not have much time left. During the meeting, my brother and his wife announced their pregnancy, and now they are upset. For some backstory, my brother and I are very close, but his wife and I don't get along as well. We've had our fair share of tension. Anyway, I fell sick in the middle of May but held off getting checked out because of COVID and safety concerns. Eventually, when June started, I decided to get checked out, and it turned out to be stage 2 breast cancer. I decided to tell my family 2 days ago since lockdown laws had been lifted. I invited everyone over, and when I told my brother and his wife, he said okay, that's fine, because he had news to share too. Our family gathered, and my brother decided to go first. He did ask me, announcing that his wife is 4 months pregnant. Naturally, everyone was overjoyed. After about an hour, they asked about my news. I knew this was probably the last time in a long while that I would have everyone together in person, so I told them. The initial joyous atmosphere quickly dissipated. The rest of the evening was filled with support for me, and not much attention was on my brother and his wife. My brother didn't seem to mind, as he was quite distraught with my news, but I saw his wife was pretty upset and had cornered herself off. So I approached her and apologized for the timing. She told me I could have waited and Skyped everyone with the news, as it's just stage 2, and let my brother and her have their moment with the family. I explained that I had called this meeting for this exact reason, but she insisted that I knew my news would dampen everyone's mood. I told her she was being ridiculous and that I wanted to tell my family in person since they are my family. She burst into tears and demanded to go home, which my brother obliged to, although he was confused. He promised to come see me soon since he lives close by. Later that evening, I received a message from him asking if I had told his wife that she isn't part of the family and that I deliberately wanted the attention on me because that's what she was upset about. The next day, my parents called to check up on me, and my mom mentioned that my brother's wife had called the previous evening, very upset, telling them what I said and claiming I'm jealous because she's pregnant and trying to ruin her life. I told my parents what actually happened and what I really said, and this has caused tension not only between his wife and me but also between my parents and her. Now she's blaming me for my parents not being her biggest fans. My brother is torn but has been trying to talk to her, which results in more tears and strain on their marriage. All this drama is making me think I should have just called everyone or told my brother that his news had to wait, even though that would have been selfish of me. I really wanted my family's support that day, but I'm starting to rethink whether it was worth all this drama and potentially causing further problems. When my brother told me he had news too, he was really super excited and added it as a just by the way, I'll announce mine too. He did apologize and admitted afterward that if he had known what my news was, he would have held off on his, because right now, what's important is my recovery. He also admitted he wrongfully assumed that my news would automatically be good. I'm usually always the happy, chirpy one. His wife wasn't too fond of this either. My brother's wife also had a miscarriage at the beginning of the year, which is why this pregnancy, I suppose, was extra special. I'm truly happy for them. I just wish she could understand, like one user pointed out, that this isn't a competition. I don't know why I couldn't tell him over the phone. We are really close, and I knew it would have crushed him. I couldn't steal him away at the gathering either because he was the last to arrive, and when he did, he quickly mentioned, "Hey OP, mind if I go first?" I was frozen on the spot, so I said sure. Also pretty silly on my part. It's hard to explain that feeling where you're absolutely frozen, and there's a big lump in your throat that prevents you from speaking, but saying the news in the first place was really difficult to begin with. Another point to clarify, I'm not a saint, but my brother does mean a heck of a lot to me. It's exactly why his wife and I cleared the air between us before, because I wouldn't deliberately make his life hell by pissing her off. Hence, when I saw she was upset, I approached her. And when she told me I could have Skyped, I responded that I wanted to tell them in person since they are my family, and they would probably want to be there with me when I broke the news. I never once implied she wasn't a part of it. My brother and parents know this. Update. For who's asking, I'm 24. First and foremost, I've started treatment. Anyway, I could see that my brother was under a lot of stress, and I finally sat him down to talk about it properly. He showed me a bunch of texts that his wife sent him telling him he is a shitty father for choosing me over his family. She said I was seeking attention and nobody cares about her. And one thing that really got to me was that she told him to choose once and for all, and if he picks me he loses her and his child, and if he picks her she doesn't want me in their lives at all. I felt terrible, not only for him, but knowing that I could have prevented all this. I took the time to apologize for putting him in this position, and if I had just pulled him aside soon enough and given him a heads up, he would have truly understood. Brother tells me I shouldn't apologize, because he should have been more considerate. He also mentioned that his wife would have probably still gotten mad at him whether they did or didn't give the news on that day. So I decided I should invite her over for coffee, to sort out everything. I spoke to her alone. I asked her about everything. She was very cold and didn't really answer, so I started talking first by apologizing if I made her feel excluded from the family or that her pregnancy was of any less importance. I explained that I should have given them a heads up so we could have avoided what had happened altogether, and that was my fault, and that I was very sorry, but I also mentioned that the way she reacted and went to the extent of lying wasn't okay. She then started crying and vented out about how angry she's been, and that my brother always put me first, and recently they've been going through a rough patch, and when he sided with me it made her even more upset and feel even more lonely. She admitted she lied to my parents and my brother, saying that she was hoping they would show her more sympathy, and when they were cold to her, she got even more upset. After hours of talking, she apologized for how she acted and has been acting. And she would like if we moved on from this. My brother came later and they both went home. He texted me saying they both spoke for hours and agreed to couples therapy. My parents are currently living with me and helping me out tremendously, but they're not quite happy with my sister-in-law yet, although they promised to try to work things out. Things finally seem to calm down, and let's hope it stays that way. I wanted to clarify that I'm no saint nor am I selfless. I know what happened wasn't entirely on me. However, in order to focus solely on my recovery, I can't be stressed out about this whole situation and have all this tension around. Seeing my brother being put in that position and my sister-in-law, as hurtful as she was, being upset and holding hatred can affect herself and the baby. I did what I could to fix things so that everyone can focus on being healthy and being positive without holding any grudges. I know I sure will. I know my SIL, she can be very stubborn and unreasonable, and if I left things in her hands I'm 99% sure it would have resulted in much worse circumstances than me putting the first hand forward. At least now I can focus on my recovery without any distress or toxicity. I'm human, I felt angry, I felt upset, yeah, I wanted to give her a piece of my mind. But in doing so isn't helping myself, her, my brother, or my family, only damaging things further. This realization is what prompted me to let it all go and focus on positivity and my mental and physical health.